Hey everyone, welcome to the Get Your Life Together Girl podcast, the ultimate blueprint for self-love and inner peace. I'm your host, Danielle Van. As a cognitive behavioral therapist, a life coach, meditation teacher, and author, it's my passion and goal to help you shift your mindset and create a lifelong revolution. Today, we're diving into your choices. This is the time of year where there are so many ins and outs, to-dos, extra food, extra financial obligations, extras, that our choices are often changed to meet the moment and often not in a really good way. So today we're taking a one-on-one deep dive into knowing what choices you should make for yourself and how to take full accountability and ownership of what you need, what you want, and how you decide what to do for yourself, how you're going to show up. So let's not waste one more second. The Get Your Life Together Girl podcast starts right now. We're talking about choices and natural consequences today. It's funny, the majority of things that I talk about in one-on-one sessions outside of thoughts and feelings comes down to action. And action meaning, what choices are we making? I want to say this to you and I want you to lock it in. The choices that you make today are tomorrow's realities. There's another twist on that makes you kind of step back and take a pause that's even greater, which is today's choices are tomorrow's consequences. I want you to think about it. If today your choice is to eat the food that you know damages the body, the consequence tomorrow may be an upset stomach or feeling a little sluggish. But the day after that, or 3 weeks from that, or 3 years from that, single choice could have a major consequence if every single day is built around making a choice that doesn't work for you, right? Every day we all face choices. Some are small, like deciding what we're going to eat for lunch. Others are life-changing, like deciding to quit the job or change career paths or where you're going to live or to leave the marriage and relationship that's not working, to deciding to let go of the trauma, whatever it is. But if I told you that every single day, small or big, you have the potential to either help yourself in the moment and contribute to your long-term wellness, or you can have instant gratification, that quick fix, make choices that are not quality, and you lay the foundation for a future where you're not thriving, but you are surviving. It's so important to understand that your decisions, your choices on the daily have a ripple effect that shapes right now and tomorrow. So in this deep dive together, I want to shift your mindset into thinking about how powerful the day-to-day is. We go around our lives just surviving. We get up in the morning, we have a to-do list, we've got to go to the doctor's appointment, we got to be at work, we got to get the kids to baseball and soccer and dance and gymnastics. We've got to make sure the grocery shopping is done. We have to pay the bills and make sure the car has gas. We live in unsustainable ways that move us from one moment to the other. Not thinking about the quality of our day-to-day is going to impact tomorrow. If I'm running, I'm not investing time in myself, I'm just kind of in the experience, I am going to have consequences or circumstances that show up tomorrow. I didn't get everything done, so now I'm more stressed. I ate the thing that I didn't really want to eat. I was too tired because of all of the running, and so I didn't work out. I didn't have time to meditate because I got to bed late, and that made me have to sleep in a little bit more. It is this big avalanche that happens in our lives. So let's look at the big picture. Think about where you would be in a year or 5 years or 10 years from right now. Where would you be? You don't have to figure out every single detail, but I want you to have a sense of direction that's going to be your guide today. I want you to think about, what do I want? How am I going to get to this future? Perhaps you want financial independence. Perhaps you want to be retired, or you want to be in a different career. Perhaps you want to be living in a different space. Whatever it is, I want you to visualize that. And I want you to remember that the choices that you make in this present moment impacts not only today, but that investment in yourself in the future. And when you start with this view that your decisions are needing to be prioritized in your actions today, you can help yourself not only immediately, but long term. So what does making a quality choice towards that vision look like? What is the practice in doing that? The first thing that we have to look at, and the first thing that I often teach, is, are you safe to make those choices? Safety is literally everything. If I feel safe, that means I can trust that things are working out for me. If I feel safe, then I know that I can mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially show up in an environment that's going to serve me, mind, body, spirit. And I know that I can make an investment in myself because there's no immediate threat, right? My anxiety is not through the roof. My stress isn't through the roof. I am okay. I am centered in my home space, right? So that's number one. Are you safe? Do you feel safe in your choices? Sometimes when we've made a lot of choices and we've had big consequences from those choices, we don't trust ourselves any longer. And that signals the brain to always be in fight or flight, to always be looking out for the next place of discomfort, that place where your choices go back to your coping mechanisms that don't work for you, right? So we want to first know that there is safety. We establish it. Am I okay? Is my mindset okay? Are my emotions okay? This understanding, when we have checked in to see where we are, brings us into a state of awareness. We have slowed down, tuned in enough to our choices and to our thought process that we're able to really help ourselves. Autopilot mode means that we're taking the same route to work. We're making the same food choices. We're skipping the workout. We're in that space, like I just talked about, where we're making the daily decisions that have the consequences tomorrow. But when we key into ourselves and ask one simple question, is this decision helping me today? And will it benefit me tomorrow? This brings this moment of, I better not do that because I don't want to pay for it tomorrow. Am I going to be in debt to my choices? That's such a big question. I want you to really just lock that in. Am I going to be in debt, meaning there is a deficit, tomorrow for the choice that I make today? Right? Like, if I'm going to do something that's going to hinder me tomorrow, why am I going to do it? If I'm going to delay the project, delay the doctor's appointment, delay the run, the workout, the yoga class, the meditation, the healing experience, because I just don't have the energy, I am burnt out, maybe the choice that I really need to make is to put myself in action so that I can have a benefit and not a deficit. So we have thought about where we are. We've guided ourselves into the decision-making moment. And then we've moved our thoughts into awareness, and we have to break it down just a little bit more. We have to visualize what our choice is going to do, right? So imagine you choosing to spend hours watching Netflix or some great documentary, and you sort of check out from the world. Not saying that's a bad thing. There are times where that is self-care, and I'm all about it. But there's a project or a school assignment that you needed to do because you chose to go back to school, or there is something that you have been putting off that really could impact you in a really great way. Your choice is important here, right? So we visualize it. The choice to relax, perfectly great. But if you're doing that all day and you delay what could be something that affects or impacts your growth and progress over time, you're choosing the wrong thing. So I want you to visualize right now and tomorrow. Will tomorrow be a chaotic mess because I chose to check out all day long? Sometimes the answer is yes, and that's acceptable, right? I've burnt out for the week. I've done too much. I really do need this downtime. Fantastic. Allow that to sit and stand, right? That's good. But if on the flip side, if you watched for an hour, giving yourself that downtime, giving yourself that mental rest that you need, and you got up later and you worked on your intention, how does that change things? There's another angle to all of this too. Say you're exhausted and the choice is to keep pushing. Tomorrow, I may be too tired to even function. So now I'm living on coffee and I feel like crap. My stomach can't handle it. And now my choices have a long payoff that are not beneficial. Visualize the choice. If I do this, will this occur? If I do that, will this occur? What choice do I want to make? One area where this really comes into play is your health and wellness. Maybe you've been tempted to skip that workout, right? And grab the extra slice of cake or the donut, whatever. But in this moment where it seems so harmless, over time, those small decisions become the debt for tomorrow. A constant effort to keep your body moving, to get adequate sleep, to breathe, sets you up for long-term health. The decisions you make today impact you in 10 years when it comes to your health, when it comes to your mindset. So I am personally one that is not willing to do anything today that I have to be in debt for in 10 years. What about you? Right? The health in your 20s is your reality in your 30s. Your 30s is your reality in your 50s, your 50s in your 80s. And, if you've been given extra time, what does that look like? My kids laugh at me because when we talk about age and what I want to look like as I am aging in my life, I often talk about being 80, 90 years old and wanting to be walking out of a yoga studio fully feeling relaxed and flexible and full of vitality. That to me screams health at 80 and 90 years old. I remember when I first started practicing yoga 20 years ago and being in a studio, and the woman that constantly was in front of me on Sunday mornings was 80 years old, and she was stronger and more flexible than most of the 20-year-olds in that class. And I just lock that in. To me, that is vitality. And so I have to make steps towards that vitality. What does tomorrow look like for you? What does 30 and 40 years from now look like for you? Because what you do today adds up. You don't have to be perfect, right? I'm not saying don't treat your body with a little something extra here. What I'm saying is make a conscious effort to feel good in your everyday, and your everyday will be good, right? Another example is in your personal relationships. It's easy to take people for granted because life gets busy. Like I said, baseball and soccer and dance and gymnastics and running from here to there. But you know what it looks like if you don't invest in relationships. It gets quiet, right? You're not spending this time connecting, getting to know that person, allowing better communication, that strength in your connection, more fulfilling interactions. What's the future going to look like? If I don't communicate with you today, it's probably very likely that I'm not going to be communicating in full force with you tomorrow. Your deep bond begins to fall away. And that doesn't matter if it is a physical relationship with a lover, a spouse, a partner, whatever it looks like for you, versus a family member or a friend. If you're not showing up and working on connection, your future is going to be that one of lack. So think about that. Let's talk about your mindset, right? If you're talking about, oh man, my thoughts are so negative and my feelings are so negative, and I know I need to do this healing journey, but you don't make the step to, log on to my website and get an appointment, or to log on to somebody else's appointments and get in there, whatever it looks like, tomorrow, you're going to have a harder time, right? Because every decision that you make today is a stepping stone for something bigger. Bigger doesn't always mean positive, right? If I am spending so much time unhappy, what do you think my predicted outcome is going to be in the future? I'm not saying that you're going to be able to make a future that is all conscious and all bright and all beautiful all the time. But what I'm saying is, if I lean in and make choices that align with my values and my beliefs and my goals, probably going to have a better outcome than if I'm just showing up willy-nilly in my life and not thinking about what my choices should and could be. So, all of that is important to know, right? Like if I do something today, I'm going to have something come down the hill tomorrow. So how do I make conscious, sound, solid choices? That is the big question. How do I get out of my own way? How do I decide what's important to me? How do I get into a space that today and tomorrow have mutual benefits? Let's go through a decision-making process. Grab your pen. You need it. Okay? All right. 1, I want you to start defining your decisions clearly. If something is in your mindset to make a choice, you need to start defining the decision clearly. 1, what is the problem? What am I trying to get to? What am I trying to address? If I'm starving, I haven't eaten all day, my decision, the problem is that I am hungry and I need to eat. The decision is to make that choice to eat, right? So what's the problem? Start by identifying the decision that you need to make. Is this decision about your career, your health, your finances, your body, your relationship, your spirituality? What is it? Being clear about the nature of your decision is going to help you get into a space of being an investigator in your own life and allow you to find focus in the right way, on the right solutions. So the next piece of that is, what is your objective? Consider what you hope to achieve by making the choice. Do you want to solve the problem? Do you want to reach a goal? Do you want to avoid negative consequences? Clarify the end goal. We don't need to put a plan in place right now. Clarify what you need and want. Then that investigation piece comes into place. Gather information. Do your research if you have to. And this sounds funny when we're talking about choices. Not everything needs to be deeply researched. What I mean by that is collect as much relevant information as possible about the options available to you. And that may just be going through your list of things that you already know. You can do research within yourself without having to go to a search engine or a best friend or a mental advisor. What do you know? Do some investigation within the self. If you need to, go talk to experts. Read about similar situations. Ask people who have experience in this situation, in these moments. But gather the evidence. If you gather evidence and you ask yourself, if I did this, what would that look like? You're allowing yourself to be focused, centered, and within the resources of yourself. Think about it. If you know your options, you're more likely to make a choice, and you know what's less ideal, and you don't spend a hell of a lot of time overthinking. You don't have to do it because you're allowing yourself to be informed, therefore making better decisions. Your choices, again, are tomorrow's guarantee of greatness or your downfall. So what are you choosing? The next thing is to consider your priorities. Align yourself with your priorities. What's most important to you right now? Will your choice align with your values, your goals, your priorities, the things that you are deeming to be the highest and greatest things in your life right now? If I make this choice to say yes to something that's going to take so much of my time that I'm not going to be able to do the things that actually matter or pay my bills, am I aligning my choice with what is a priority? The answer is probably no, right? You can look at this from 2 different perspectives. What's important right now and what's important in the future. Let me give you an example. If my health is a priority, my decision may lean towards the option to improve or maintain my well-being instead of choosing to have that down session of lying in bed. So think about it. What is my priority? And does my choice align with my priority? This is something that I see over and over again where people are in this growth factor. We're doing these healing journeys. We're really in this experience of connecting our thoughts and our feelings to these goals that we've put out there and moving all of that through our behaviors. And a lot of times we can't get there. We can't get to the consistency of the behaviors. And I will say, your why is not clear enough. Your choices are not clear enough. Your outcome and your priorities are not clear enough. Why? Because we just haven't given enough thought. We can say one thing, but if we do another, we're not making the choice a solid movement in our lives, right? We're just saying it's a word salad versus saying this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to do it and this is my commitment to it and this is what matches my end goal and this is my priority. I'm going to maintain, I'm going to improve, whatever it may be. So you have to know these things. You have to be fully in them in order to fully feel like you're making solid choices that benefit today and tomorrow. And from there, we weigh the pros and the cons. You have to evaluate your benefit and your risk in order to find motivation. This is important. I'm going to say that again. You must evaluate the risk and the benefit in order to find motivation. If you just list options out there as to what you hope to get out of it, but you don't know the investment, meaning time, emotion, physical, even spiritual and financial, our 5 masters again, what do you think you're going to get out of that list? Probably not very much. But if you evaluate the risk and the benefit, you list out the potential, the drawbacks, the things that could take you down or create that movement, short-term and long-term consequences, you're going to be able to put things into motion because you know the impact. Consider how each choice is going to impact you and then perhaps the people around you. Are there unintended consequences if you don't slow down and make a decision? Decision fatigue happens so easily when you've had those experiences like we talked about just a few minutes ago, where you've made bad choices and then you start getting into, the decision paralysis and say, nope, every time I make a decision, things go badly. I get hurt or someone else gets hurt. And so I'm just not going to make a decision at all. That's not healthy. We still have life to live, right? This is your experience of living. You're going to make decisions that don't work out. So you have to weigh the pros and cons. You have to assess the impact. If I look at this thing and just jump, I probably am going to have unintended consequences. But if I'm weighing my pros and cons, guess what? Even if it doesn't come to fruition the way that I want it to, it's probably going to feel a lot better because I was in control of the safety and the movement. So weigh your pros and cons. And then I want you to consider your emotional and rational responses. That really looks at your gut feeling of the moment or your choice versus your logic. So pay attention to both how you feel when you're thinking about something. That's your intuition guiding you. It's important not to let your emotions cloud your judgment, but it's also important to check in. How do I feel about this thing? If I'm making a choice that is massive and I have a lot of trepidation about it, is it because it's unknown or is it because the risk is greater than the possible benefit? And will that impact me short-term and long-term? Listen. Allow the logical analysis to be there. We need it, right? That's why I always tell you, break every moment down to just the facts. What is that? That's a logical analysis. But you also need to listen to your gut. You have such a beautiful GPS, a compass within your body. So allow it to speak. Trust your gut. I know that when I've made decisions that have been counter to my gut feeling, they haven't worked out well. And so I will take my gut feeling and then try to apply the logic to it and come to my answer that way. That has always been extremely successful for me. And so I challenge you to try that. What does my gut say? What is my intuition guiding me towards? And then take logic to that. If I take that step, what does it look like? What are the pros and cons? Does it meet my values? Does it meet my priorities right now? Does it allow me to define my decision clearly? What evidence do I have? Your intuition, your gut feeling can also have logic to it. There is duality in everything. We've been talking about that for weeks now on the podcast. Light, dark, good, bad. We have to have it. So if that is the way that we live and operate, where we have light and dark, why can't we have gut feelings and intuition and logic? The answer is we can. You're the rule maker in your life. Get to making the rules, right? And I want you to remember that in that emotional and rational response, we also have to think about the long term. A decision that feels good in the moment may not always be the best decision long term. So try to look beyond the immediate gratification. We live in a world of that. And consider the lasting impact of your choice. If you are doing anything because you need immediate gratification, that should be your red flag, your warning bell, that moment of step back, get back on the sidewalk for just a moment and reconsider what you're doing. Immediate gratification tends to be the thing that leads to the long-term deficit. Does that make sense? So try to step back. Does this impact me in a way that allows me to gain instead of lack? Then, if you need validation for your choice, seek advice. Consult others. Ask a trusted friend, a mentor, a colleague, a therapist, someone who has other perspectives than your own that can provide valuable insight and allows you to step back and see it from a different perspective. When we are so close to a situation, we cannot see the details like someone else can. And so we need to sometimes ask, hey, if you were in my shoes and this situation unfolded, what would you do? And that allows that conversation to open. And sometimes we're able to work through it and speak our way into an understanding. And other times we're waiting for some insight that we just can't get to on our own. And that's a beautiful experience too. So consider that. Consider that you may need feedback and be open to the feedback, because a lot of times people will tell you their opinion. What is an opinion? It is, this is what I would do if I were in your shoes. That's not hard stop. You must do this, right? That doesn't mean that that person is giving you the plan on how to get there. They're saying, hey, you know what? If I were here where you are, I would do X, Y, and Z. Now, go make the final decision on your own. You weigh advice. You take it to your values. Take it to your objective. Look at your end result and then make a decision. Does that make sense? We don't have to take it and make it gospel. And then we begin to put a plan in place because we're making a decision. Make the decision. Take the leap. Once you've gone through all these steps, once you've gathered all your information, weighed your options, considered your values, decided what you want to do, trust that you've done the necessary work to make your choice with confidence. Commit to it. Once you've decided fully, commit. Avoid second guessing. Don't get into that negative conversation with yourself that makes everything feel like complete junk. Instead, be in it. You could screw up a decision. We all have done it. It's going to be okay. We don't have to downgrade ourselves because the decision doesn't play out the way we want it to. Instead, be happy with yourself that you're committing to a choice. Once you do that, take action. Implement the choice. Decide what action needs to be taken in order to take yourself off of the sideline of your life. Decide. Most of the time when we have a big choice, what we tend to come up against is we jump to do. And here we've given ourselves all of the evidence. We've given ourselves focus. And so we can follow through on our plan. Focus, execute the decision, handle the choice, and handle anything that may come up along the way. If you need to, and things are not working out the way that you hoped they would, stop and pause and evaluate the outcome as the action is taking place. There's no problem doing that. It's what a pivot is all about, right? After some time, reflect on your decision. Is it meeting your expectations? Are you happy with the today response and the tomorrow setup? Is what I'm doing now going to provide that future benefit? Decide. If it's not, learn from it. Use your reflection as a learning experience for future decisions. Even if it didn't go the way you thought it was going to go, redefine the plan, not the decision. Okay? That's the biggest thing. So often, well, I made the wrong decision, so I'm just going to throw everything away. Maybe you didn't make the wrong decision. Maybe you chose the wrong process. That's it, right? So often when I'm working with people, we'll talk about, well, that didn't work. And instead of jumping to this isn't working completely and I just need to quit therapy, let's just shift a little bit. Let's try something else. We don't have to throw everything out just because the outcome didn't align perfectly with exactly how we thought it was going to be. Stop trying to throw everything away, discount your work, let everything go because the process that you chose didn't work. Think about that. There's a difference between the decision and the process. Just because the decision didn't give you the full outcome that you want doesn't mean that the desire and the choice and the outcome is bad. It just means how you got there didn't work. So change the process. And that's really the last piece is adjust. Adjust when needed. Don't throw it all away. If new things come up, don't be afraid to revise and make an approach that works for you. As I said in the very beginning, your choices today are your reality tomorrow. Your choices today are your consequences tomorrow. And if you get into a space where you're more thoughtful, informed, and aligned with your goals and your values and your vision, you're going to start making solid decisions. Of course, it takes practice, but what you are going to see and feel is that you have the ability to show up for yourself. You have the ability to show up today, and you have the ability to be present for your future self, to build a better tomorrow. Again, it doesn't matter if it's something career or health or relationship or self-improvement or trauma. It doesn't matter if your decision is big or small. Each choice is an investment in the now and tomorrow. So I want you to take today. I want you to think about the small changes you would make to improve both today, the present, and your future. Again, not in a sense of perfection, but a sense of consistency. You have the power to change anything you need. You have the power to create tomorrow while you handle today. What do you want to do? What do you need? How do you want to feel? And how are you getting there? Just because the past hasn't worked out doesn't mean that your future won't. So whatever you're stalling on, whatever you haven't decided on, now you have the steps. So make the decision. Because once you do, you have moved into a space of getting your life together. Thank you so much for listening to the Get Your Life Together Girl podcast. If you've enjoyed these tips for bettering your life and are seeking daily inspiration, please follow me on social media if you're not already at Get Your Life Together Girl on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Clapper, Threads, Insight Timer, and Pinterest. If you're looking for more and want even deeper understanding, go to my website where you can find my blog, and you can find it there at www.getyourlifetogethergirl.com. I want to thank you for being such a valuable part of this community and listening to this podcast. If you haven't already, please rate and review on whatever platform you listen to, as it helps get this word out to others who may need it. I hope you have the most beautiful day, and as always, until we meet again, be kind to yourself and others.